call the meeting of the Fargo Public Library Board to order. Just let's do a roll and see who is here this afternoon. I'm Scott Bollier, and joining us is, let's see, if you could just do here so we can hear who's on the phone. Carlos Hawley.
Here.
Rachel Steenhold.
Here.
Hey, Rachel. Whitney Oxendahl.
I sent you an email. I don't know if you got this. Whitney has accepted another job position.
That's right. Yeah.
And she can no longer be on the board.
Okay.
The mayor's office did appoint a new person, which I'm going to reach out to, and I'll give her email. Her name is Ms. Amy Oren, O-U-R-E-N.
Okay.
So we'll be doing an orientation, and certainly I'll get you her contact information. You can reach out as well.
Great. Not on the call today, though.
No.
Okay, super. Kristen Schipper.
Here.
Jenna Reno.
Here.
Carrie Peterson. Okay, and that looks like it's it. So if we could approve the order of the agenda, that's an action item.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? We're good, motion carries, and we'll move on to approval of the September 21st minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, and we will move on to staff reports with Megan.
Hello. So you have my report in your packet. I'm just going to draw your attention to a few things. The first is a partnership that we now have with Job Service of North Dakota. We've been doing this for a few months now. We got started just post-COVID. And so a staff member goes and presents there once a month on what the library has to offer for job seekers. We have computers they can come in and use. We have resume building software on those computers. We also have a database now called Knowledge City. If you have heard of lynda.com, which is now LinkedIn Learning, it's similar to that, where it's specifically for training on a lot of technology things, how to use like the office programs, how to build a resume, other things like that. And so yeah, that's once a month that we've been doing that. A lot of our upcoming programs are Halloween themed. In the children's department, they have a science program about making potions. They have a pumpkin decorating program, and dancers from FM Ballet and Gasper School of Dance are coming next Tuesday to do a story time and dance class dressed as zombies. Kids and adults are encouraged to dress up in Halloween costumes for all of those events. On the adult side, we have a Halloween-themed trivia next Wednesday. It's a mix of true crime, horror movies, scary stories, just general scary things. On the non-Halloween activities, we have an ebook help session coming up November 4th for people to come in and get help downloading ebooks and audiobooks onto their Kindles, their phones, their tablets, whatever devices they have. Our book clubs are continuing. Upcoming titles are in my written report. And our movie series with local film critic Matt O'Lean is starting back up Sundays in November with a series of classic gangster films. Next Tuesday is our big event for the One Book, One Community program. So Anton Treyu, who wrote this year's title, which is Everything You Wanted to Know About Indians But Were Afraid to Ask, will be at the Centrum at Concordia next Tuesday at 7, giving a book talk and then a signing afterwards. So an in-person event. Concordia does have a mask policy for all of their on-campus events, but it will also be streamed live on the One Book, One Community Facebook page and on Concordia's Facebook page. You can see my report for some other events that are coming up, and as always, all of our things are on our website. Have any questions for me?
Lots of great stuff. Wish I had more time for some of the book clubs. I just dropped my children off at Gasper School of Dance with 3 minutes to spare. If you saw them dancing, it would be spooky by definition. So good stuff, good collaboration there. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Tim, turning it to you.
Yes, director's report per your packet there. Kind of an interesting thing you see down there under Goal 6 Marketing. We were contacted by a gentleman from Microsoft to participate in a virtual event for fundraising for the library as part of the Microsoft Give campaign. And so at noon today, I attended that along with representatives from LA County Public Library, along with Seattle Public Library and King County Library Foundation. So it was fun to sit at the table and talk libraries with very large organizations. And just to and that will go out to Microsoft staff and kind of a giving campaign that, obviously payroll subsidy and then additional monies from Microsoft. So we hope, if nothing else, it's just a good discussion about Fargo Public Library for those folks, and maybe they learned something about what we got. I also want to give a big thanks to our community relations specialist, Melissa Duncan, for really just stepping up on the drop of a hat and help put together a video for that event today, which was great. The other stuff there, big thing, meeting with various library departments to have a COVID after action discussion. That's been a very helpful discussion back and forth with staff in terms of our response and recovery to COVID. Have a couple more of those before the end of the month. That's the big stuff there, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? Tim, just a mechanical question. If Microsoft gives, does it go into the Friends, like the foundation-like accounts that you
They
report
do
on?
have, Microsoft has a separate company called Benevity that kind of manages that.
Yep.
The Friends have a Benevity page, and the Fargo Library has a Benevity. So in discussions initially with the folks leading up to this event, I said, do you want it just to be with the Friends, or do you want a Fargo Public Library Benevity page? And they thought, well, it wouldn't hurt you to have a Fargo Public Library page along with the Friends. Okay. So there is a potential there through the Microsoft that it does go to the Friends, and they have been receiving some payroll. Microsoft folks have designated some monies towards the Friends. So that potential still exists. We just now have a Fargo Public Library page too. So the Friends have an opportunity as well.
Got it.
And they've had it.
Okay.
So when you get together and talk library, what are the topics that come up?
Well, in this case, it really was, here's what we have to offer. Here's how we're trying to engage in the community. Here's kind of where the situation is. And it's interesting, we're all very similar. Obviously it's a economy of scale when you're dealing with LA County and King County and Seattle. But a lot of the same things, a lot of the same focuses. It's just how we're engaging in community and evolving our services to meet the needs and the changes in the communities.
You don't complain about your board.
No, I wouldn't do that. I don't have to.
Anything else? Okay, let's move ahead. It looks like we've got a few items of new business before statistical reports. So 3 policy refreshes, I guess, is what's up next.
And starting with A and B, again, that's looking at kind of the review process that we've been kind of going through in previous meetings, and just identified a couple more that haven't been reviewed in a number of years, and those being the staff identification policy and travel and continuing education policy. And again, in terms of the first one there, the staff identification policy, no changes identified. It's pretty straightforward on what it is, what it says. So again, this is for review and to approve the review as an action item. And so certainly opportunity to board to review all policies, so.
Okay, so we should take these one at a time.
Correct.
Any questions on the staff ID policy review? Pretty short and to the point.
This would then, with this ID, they get into restricted areas and,
Correct, with the swipe card.
what action do you need on, you need a motion?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, so move to approve
as stated.
as stated.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And now, Tim, the travel and continuing ed policy.
Right, and this is pretty straightforward too, kind of putting the parameters around staff travel and education. It's important, it really helps kind of setting the parameters, especially saying that is important is we see training, we're not gonna avoid doing our own mission, the local mission, just to attend training. So I think that's an important aspect of it. And again, no changes were identified.
Any questions on the travel and continuing ed policy?
I just have a brief question on point number 9, where it says employees will be encouraged to apply for grant funding or seek non-library funds to pay for their attendance whenever possible. Is there, help that employees have to have grant or to find grant funding or outside funding for anything like this?
We haven't done a lot of that because we haven't had to.
Okay,
I know if kind of push and shove kind of situation, I know the state library has a number of grants or would be a resource to identify said grants if we really identified something that was really beneficial and we wanted to get a number of folks to it. So I think there are resources out there that we could look into. I think we've certainly through operating, we've covered a lot of things. So there's only been a few instances in my time here where that's happened.
okay. All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, this is an action item, so we could use a motion here.
I'll make a motion to accept the statement as is.
Second.
Okay, all of those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Nope, so the motion carries on approval. And so next, Tim, the meeting room policy.
Right, and some of the changes there per the action item summary sheet, you can see that a lot of it related to the newly installed larger screens, kind of more technology in the conference rooms, which is kind of a step up than where we've been. The other thing, we're directly in keeping with our strategic plan to remove barriers to library services, was the restructure of fees and basically eliminating fees for nonprofits in terms of use of library meeting rooms. It's kind of those things that we see, especially post-COVID, that we want to really engage in the community and make ourselves available, certainly in keeping with our strategic plan goals. So those are the changes there per the draft of the meeting room policy.
Any questions? I may have missed this, Tim. Are there time limits on any of these rooms, or?
Certainly.
Just you can reserve it for the day, or?
Use per day. Generally, what we've run into is, obviously, they can't go beyond operating hours of the library. I would say, as a general rule, and Betsy can correct me if I'm wrong, but generally, folks want a room for a morning, an afternoon, maybe a little late into the afternoon, Rarely there's consecutive days. You go to Betsy's our ace meeting room scheduler.
I forget exactly which point it is, but it says something like groups cannot book more than four-hour bookings in any given month. So they're four-hour bookings.
Okay. Any other questions?
You know, the technology part's gonna keep evolving, so, you know,
Oh, we know.
yeah. So, I don't know, I suppose yearly you go over this, right? And make it
Well,
more-
it's, keeping our finger to the pulse of what folks are asking for and, kind of what fits into the mission and what's possible and how we can support it. And all of those things are taken into account certainly as we're making these decisions.
You need a motion?
Yeah, if there's no other questions.
Move to approve as stated?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and we move on to statistical reports.
Yeah, first one, obviously library use, and this is, excuse me, looking just over 29,000 registered patrons as kind of a point-in-time view. We look at September 21 attendance over 20, it's a little bit over that 1%. Certainly 2020 being an anomaly, 21 looking at a 27% increase over last year. Programming is a little bit different, right around 2% over total of last year. Some of the impact there, obviously, with some of the programming, the children's programming and teen programming that we had with the latest surge was moved to virtual or we didn't do it, just out of safety's sake, given the age groups involved. You can see the volunteer hours is coming back, which is good. Internet sign up down a little bit. Year to date, though, up 2%. Electronic activity down a little bit over last year, around 3%. In terms of circulation, overall, certainly up 23% over 2020. More importantly, if we move on to the next set of sheets, as per our conversation at the last board meeting, kind of saying, well, comparing to 2020 is one thing. Certainly comparing to 19, which was a record year, is more impactful, I think. And the big one there just jumps right out at you, certainly attendance. And again, if you remember January, we weren't open. There was some time there where we were still not quite fully open in 2021. Certainly the impact there, but if you see in the monthly, there's an impact there as well. And that, the driver with that is programming, on-site programming. And again, we have had to limit that based on the situation, which we feel good about because it's just the right thing to do now. But then that has an impact, in terms of people coming to each location. Certainly, and the program attendance under there, it's pretty much speaks for itself based on that discussion. Volunteer hours, again, just trying to build that back up, not anywhere near where we were in 19. Internet sign up, again, by more than half in regards to that, in terms of that, and certainly electronic activity as well. Circulation, you can see that impacts there across there. And again, 19 was a record year in the history of the organization in terms of circulation. Now, the one difference, of course, is interesting is the electronic, which is not too surprising given its importance through the impacts of the pandemic and to where we are now. In light of this, we've been working on a number of strategies in regards to re-engagement. We've identified two groups. One is a group of folks that have active cards currently that haven't checked out anything, any physical items since March of 2020. And we'll be contacting them in various ways. Also, folks that have lost items on their records from October of 2020, kind of re-engage them and say, hey, you know, as much as we would like to get stuff back, we don't want to deny you of resources. You know, if you can bring the stuff back, that'd be great. One of the things other folks are working on is the idea of a library, design a library card contest, an adult, teen, and a children's one. Looking for that in 2022. So, and again, where we are is obviously the situation with the pandemic is still not linear. So we're trying to find ways that we can re-engage with folks. Obviously, where we feel safe is getting on-site programming. I know teen wants to get some level of on-site programming beginning in November. Children's is starting some on-site programming as well. Obviously, we got One Book, One Community, which will have an on-site there's different aspects of the program that will be happening on-site and some virtual. So it's just a way of us working back based on the situation. But you see the impacts that we've experienced per the pandemic.
Thanks for the 2019 data, Tim. It's interesting to just do the before and the old normal, new normal comparison. So web page activity doesn't look like it suffered nearly as much in relative terms. And then must have a lot of kids at Carlson because some of the young readers and the youth stuff in general has held up relatively well. So, which makes, I think, sense when you think about COVID risk and
Right.
parents just saying, I got to get something for my kids.
And, you know, this is anecdotal, but there's been a number of heavy readers that I run into, and they're like, well, I'm just all electronic now. And that's just where we are.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's part of the world we live in and some of the evolution. And it's the key is to try and find ways to maintain our profile in the community, have events, do them safely, keep the staff safe, all of the above.
Any questions on, I guess, circulation and use here? Okay, if you want to move on to financials.
Sure. Looking at donation summary on the top, on the revenue side, our $5 anonymous monthly donation. Thank you for that. Also, the $1,325, the $200 was from a staff member, Steve Hubbard, for the yo-yo performance that took place. $25 from the Women's Club of Fargo in memory of Darlene Field. $300 from Linda Miller in memory of John Miller, and $800 from the Friends for Crafternoons, so thank you, Friends. On the expenditure side, $350 from the Friends for the One Book, One Community billboards that happened, so thank you, Friends. The $682, that's from an anonymous donor for the Northport Library for Northport Supplies, a charging station, book display, media rack. And then the $355 on the expenditure side for the yo-yo, $17 for Northern Narratives and Friends Crafternoons of $139. So thank you again for the Friends. The other one, the $49, that's from the children's books in memory of John Miller, kind of an expenditure side for the donation. The memory, and those are all for Carlson. And the final one for staff development, again, thank you, Friends, or we wouldn't be able to do that. $150 from the Friends for Staff Development Urban Plains, the park, we had a staff potluck out at Urban Plains Park, which was nice. $12 supplies for staff event and $30 for Way to Go staff recognition. So again, thank you, friends and anonymous donors and all involved. In terms of operating through 3/4 of the year, looking at just over 72% of the aggregate budget expended. Obviously, we're looking and identifying things to purchase, purchase some more staff chairs for workstations, a few other things, kind of adjusted one staff person's work area to make it more ergonomical. Continue to observe the budget as we go through the end of the year to see what if we might have other opportunities in terms of needs there. And revenue, you can see just under $1,500 for September.
Any questions? Thank you. Doesn't look like we have to do anything on that front. So, Friends of the Library report, are you handling that, or do we have no friends today?
Well, they had their book sale a week or so ago. It seemed to be, it was right inside the breezeway. Looked like they had plenty of books, so I hope it turned out good. We'll find out at the next board meeting.
Cool.
Friends meeting.
Anything else? So public comment, no public today, so that is smooth sailing, and it looks like we are adjourned until November 16th. Thank you.